Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam.
All right, there we go. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Today is Thursday, August 31st, 2023. I am honored to this month celebrate Black-owned businesses. I just want to recap yesterday and thank everyone that tuned in and came out to the WGBH studios. We had Aaron Davis of the Davis System, Daniel Laurent of Black Dollar LLC, and also Malia Lazu of the Lazu Group. It was an incredible session. We'll talk more about that on next week. But again, thank you to everyone that came out, everyone that tuned in on Facebook and YouTube. Shout out to the production team at GBH, those that tweeted or text and say, hey, I'm driving down the highway and I see Jimmy. Thank all of you for that support. We are closing out Black Business Month with two young men that I've had the opportunity to observe. I want to say maybe for the past if I'm not forcing it, 3 years maybe, but definitely 2 years, if not more. Well, before the pandemic. So yeah, a few years. And they are great brothers doing great things in the community. They are academics. They are both Southerners and I love it. We'll rock some boots in a minute. Seen them a few weeks ago over at Grace by Nia. One of them was celebrating their birthday. I think it falls into the Virgo category. I'm not sure, but I'm excited to have both of these brothers here today. I would like to present to some and introduce to others Derek Young Jr. and also Jonathan Allen of the Leadership Brainery here in Boston. This session has been a long time coming. And hopefully they won't be too shady because it took a while. Derek and I met. Derek, we met, was it during the pandemic? Or 21?
I think we met before that. It had to be like...
It wasn't before then. No, not that bad.
2019?
No.
Oh, yeah. I started working for the city of Boston early 2019. And I think we met before that.
Well, we may have met, but I mean the convo we had about making this happen and bringing attention to the great work that you were doing. You're not going to do me and say it's before me.
Let me go ahead and throw the shade out real quick that he's a Leo and not a Virgo.
I was about to get there.
All right, so we're going to behave. This isn't after dark, so it's Thursday morning at 9, so we'll behave. But I'm really excited to have both of you here. Why don't we start with Derek? Derek, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself. We'll get into we'll share a little bit of information with you. They are both partners in business, and we'll share some other information in a couple of minutes. But Derek, tell us about yourself. And we'll have Jonathan introduce himself as well. And I'm really excited. This is going to be one that goes down in the books. I know it is. Let me just see if Quincy has popped in the room yet. I don't see him yet, but I'm sure Quincy will be in here. But Derek, please introduce yourself.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Jimmy. I just want to say, first of all, the introduction was absolutely incredible. So that was amazing. Really excited. Love that production. Hello, everybody. I'm Derek Young, co-founder, executive director of Leadership Brainery. I've been in Boston for about 8 years. I'm going on 9 years. And I'm originally from Chicago, raised mostly in Kansas City, Missouri. And then I went to college, undergrad in Louisiana at Grambling State University, or HBCU, where me and Jonathan met. And I came up here to Boston for grad school. So I went to Tufts School of Medicine for my master's in public health. So I have a public health background focused on racial disparities. And, that really lended to the work we do at Leadership Brainery, which is creating more equitable pathways to master's and doctoral degrees. So I'm excited to share more about that. And I'll let Jonathan introduce himself.
Hey everybody, and again, thank you, Jimmy, for having us. Really appreciate your leadership, this platform, and even the way in which people are getting more information, but also inspiration as we think about the very critical issues in our society and in our community that has to constantly be addressed. And so, thank you for raising voices and elevating much of the discussions around the things that are really important in our communities. And certainly, even now with Black Business Month, thank you even for centering that and exposing and giving leadership writing and us a platform to talk more about our work. I'm Jonathan Allen. If you can't tell by my accent, I'm from Texas originally. I grew up in a small town called Lufkin, Texas. Moved to Dallas when I was in elementary school, and then to Louisiana when I got to high school. As Derek mentioned, went to Grambling State University, the place where everybody is somebody, and was very active student leaders, and really always had a commitment to thinking about how we can elevate and uplift our communities. I grew up as a childhood preacher as well. Since I was 11, my mom would say even before 11, I've been preaching. And so that's a part of my story and how I've lived and navigated life. And I know we'll unpack more and the complexities and the nuances of that, even as I think about my own identity. Came to Boston for law school, to BU back in 2016, and graduated 2019. Have been as involved as we can be since we've been here, and really looking forward to continuing to grow our connections and relationships in this community, to really ensure that our young people and those that are aspiring to the highest levels of the workforce can do so through what we believe as the accelerated pathway, and that's master's and doctoral degrees, where not enough of us exist. And certainly in the most competitive schools that give the gateway to the most competitive career opportunities, that allow us to earn more and be able to reinvest back in our communities. And so that's how we're thinking about how we contribute to closing the wealth gap. I'll pause there. Let's dive into it.
So this is going to be interesting. And so, Derek, let's jump right in. You referred to the fact that you two met, I believe, in grad school. And so define, you all are partners in business, but you all are also partners. And so tell us about how you met and how that partnership led to this partnership. And both of you can jump in right there. And Jonathan, just do me a favor. Can you say Derek again?
Derek.
I love it, Jesus. Come on, Derek. Tell us about how you guys met.
So actually, we met in undergrad. So Jonathan and I, we've been together for 11 years. And so I met Jonathan my freshman year at Grambling State. He was in his junior year, and he was running for student body president. At the time, I was a campaign manager for another candidate in a different role. And so you get the dynamic. I'm more of like the behind the scenes guy. Jonathan's definitely more outward facing.
For another candidate.
Another candidate for a separate role. It wasn't
a separate role. Okay. So
we went competing.
Okay,
yeah,
all right. Sure.
And so, there's all these crazy rules on the HBCU campuses about elections. And so the time was coming up where you had to have all your paraphernalia off campus. And we had the parade earlier that day. We had the showcase earlier that day. And I had saw Jonathan still had paintings all over the car from his parade. I didn't know him at the time. And so I just went up to him really quickly, like, hey, you may want to get that off your car so you don't get disqualified. It's about to be 9 p.m. Immediately we exchanged numbers. He told me, thank you. We exchanged numbers. And that night, we were just texting. And, mind you, this is like the busiest week of the season. And I'm just like, how is this guy running for president? Like, texting me like all night, So he invited me to his campaign meeting. I couldn't make it because we had a campaign meeting myself. And the next day I went to his campaign meeting. I was really impressed by his whole infrastructure, by him. And from that day, we've been tight, haven't left each other's side since. And so we left Louisiana, came up here to Boston. And actually, let me circle back a little bit while we were still at Grambling. So in 2013, Jonathan won the presidency. He appointed me to his executive board. And so I was over student relations. So anything that had to do with the students. So basically we were hand in hand in student government, and we did some incredible things, not only on our campus, but throughout the whole country. We're really involved in a lot of different organizations. And so other college student leaders started to reach out to us saying, we're hearing about the work that you all are doing. Can you help us out? And so in 2013, we started Leadership Brainery as an institution for leaders. How are we training leaders on how to get things done, how to build relationships, how to budget, how to create compliance infrastructure. And so we were doing all of that as college students, helping other organizations develop. And so it was during that experience that we did that for 5 years. We would just travel around, train students.
Hold on, Derek. Don't go into the business yet. I want to hear Jonathan's version of how y'all met, because most of the time about 70% are aligned, but there's usually a 30% difference in the story. And so, Jonathan, what's your version of how y'all met?
We've been telling this story for so long now that I probably don't even have a version anymore. I mean, sometimes I may, leave a thing out or two or frame it a certain way, and he'll be like, actually, but I was super captivated by Derek the moment I met him. I had been on Gramblin's campus, as he mentioned, for 3 years at that point, and I was always involved. I was freshman class president, sophomore class president, junior class senator, and then became student vice president. And so I was really active. I knew everybody. I was really plugged in, but I had not really known Derek. But, of course, he was a freshman, so I hadn't had as much time to know him at that point. But immediately when I met him, was truly impressed by his presence, first and foremost, in the fact that he was involved in student government, particularly around campaigning for student government. We clicked and we hit it. There was nobody else that I felt like I had ever really connected with in that way. I was DL at the time, for context, down low for those who don't know. As growing up as a childhood preacher, really navigating that was certainly where I was in my life at that time. When we first got together, the narrative and the story is that we would never be together long term. That was what the conversation was, at least.
Or public. We had a relationship for 5 years.
The idea that we would be married and we would be together long term, like immediately, that was something that was off the table.
Yep.
And definitely something that I was championing more, because I was, preacher and down low, and just did not see that as my future. And so it's amazing to be here 11 years later, next year, 12 years, and to continue to be evolving as we have over the decades. So amazing as I just have a moment to reflect and think about it.
I think it's important because it does add on the back end. It does, being a couple, we see power couples and whatnot. It does add element to the business because you're together at work, you're together in life. And so at some point, maybe we can do an after dark and talk about that, because that is a lot in managing that. No way near where you guys are, but I'll just say that, yeah, it's a lot to manage, and I'll leave that right there. And so
you about to tell us about your boo?
You know what, Jonathan? I said this is going to be interesting today. You will not make me turn the color of my shirt on this morning. And so, Jonathan, let's start with you this time. Derek picked up on the fact that you all started out in student government, in the work of it, and you got the attention of colleges across the country. And that was sort of the birth or the catalyst of Leadership Brainery. Pick us up from the beginning and tell us how you started there in school, and how did it transition here to Boston? Obviously, both of you are here, but bring us up to date a little bit. And then, Derek, you'll let us know kind of what you're working on right now. But Jonathan, take us a little bit on that journey from its foundation to where you are now. Like, you guys are down on Newberry Street?
Beacon Street, actually.
Beacon Street.
Yeah, in Back Bay, in the Copley area between Dartmouth and Exeter. We, as Derek mentioned, we initially were providing leadership development consulting to student leaders at different colleges and universities. And so we were going all over the country doing trainings and workshops for student government primarily, but other student organizations as well, on how to get things done and how to work effectively within your teams, but also how to work with your administration, oftentimes politicking and thinking about how you can get those leaders to collaborate with you on implementing things that would certainly increase and improve the student body experience. And so we were doing that for years, 5 years in particular. Went to graduate school. I went to Southern Methodist University in Dallas for my Master's of Theological Studies. Derek came up after graduating at Grambling to Boston to Tufts School of Medicine for his Master's of Public Health, and was the only Black man in his cohort. I came up to Boston in 2016, started BU Law, and out of 250 students, I was one out of 4 Black men. And Derek came over the year after me and was the only Black man that entered into BU Law in 2017. And so that experience got us to start asking the question, particularly to admissions, why are there not more people like us from our backgrounds in these competitive graduate programs? And so we would get the response that, oh, we can't find enough qualified, diverse candidates. And we thought that that was not innovative, not sincere, and that just not acceptable, right? Just not acceptable. Right. And particularly responded saying, but wait, we've been training diverse student leaders all over this country for the last few years who deserve to be in these programs. And so we wanted to do something about it. And so we transformed what we were doing from leadership development training only to morphing into a nonprofit organization that really had a mission centered on increasing access to master's and doctoral degrees at competitive graduate programs for underrepresented talent as an accelerated pathway to management and senior leadership in the workforce. When we think about our top management and senior leadership roles, quite often many of those people have graduate degrees, master's and doctoral degrees, and especially if they're underrepresented and especially if they're people of color. We've often had to work harder, do more, get more credentials in order to ascend into those type of positions. And we don't say or preach that everybody has to go to school or graduate school and that that's the only way that people can ascend into those positions of power. But we know that it is the accelerated pathway there. And as far as we're concerned, our issue around wealth inequity is so exacerbated that we need to be coming up with solutions that's going to push us faster to close wealth inequity. And the graduate school pathway is one. Now, we talk often about student loan debt, and we can get into that and the role that it plays in creating barriers to access and keeping many of us from pursuing these opportunities. But we're really trying to build a movement around this work, and indeed are, and are really proud of all of the people that are investing in so many different ways to ensure that Leadership Brainery can continue to scale and grow. And Derek will talk more about how we've done that over the years. And so that is our mission, and that is how we've come to this stage in developing Leadership Brainery to have this very niche focus around equitable access to advanced education.
One of the things that, and Jonathan, thank you so much for smoothly laying out the path. Derek, one of the things that's been so interesting in talking about Black businesses, in asserting that Black lives matter, one of the notions that have come up is the fact that we have to intentionally, aggressively assert that there needs to be DEI and things like that. Can you talk about the Brainery's sort of position or approach in the fact that we have to do that? It should automatically, be something. What is your perspective, Derek, on why you all are a necessity?
Oh, that's a great question. And man, I get into fusses with our academic partners all the time because of it. The schools that we work with, the most competitive graduate schools, are for centuries have been educating the elite. And so it makes sense that if we can diversify these institutions, then we can also diversify the elite. And so we share with these institutions often, because like Jonathan said, they'll say, well, we can't find qualified, diverse talent. And we tell them that you're not looking. And definitely right here in Boston, we know when we think about Boston, the valedictorian project that came out a few years ago, we saw that many of our high schools, even our most high achieving students, when they get into some of the schools around here, they are still either not being supported or failing out, and it has nothing to do with the students, but it's all about the infrastructure of the school. And so we're really encouraging our schools to take an internal look at themselves and address the racism within their own walls that they've been birthed upon and say, how do we change our system, change our processes, change our mindset, get more leaders from our backgrounds at the table at these academic institutions, so that when we do get in, first, more of us get in, but then we're supported because we have representation at decision-making tables. However, we know even when it comes to higher education, what is our criteria to get into higher education? Advanced degrees. To be a professor, you have to have a master's or doctoral degree. Oftentimes, to get many roles at the colleges and universities, they prefer advanced degrees. And so we know that we have to continue to increase that pipeline to even diversify the academic space for us to continue to get the support that we need. And so it's not only the schools, it's the companies as well, the corporations who continue to say that we need diverse talent. And so, you know, we work with a lot of law firms, asset management firms, biosciences, many of those occupations that require advanced degrees. And, you know, something we say too, all roads lead to graduate school. Like Jonathan said, it's not for everybody. However, we all interact with it. So we all go to the doctor. Doctors have to have graduate degrees. We want more Black and brown doctors. We already know we interact with the law. And we know about our jacked up criminal justice or criminal system. And so we know that we need more Black and brown lawyers. Our educators, we need more Black and brown professors, more dentists, psychologists. We're going through a mental health crisis. Psychologists have to have advanced degrees. So all of these people that we're interacting with and we say we need more of, that means we need more of them to get into graduate school, but there's not a movement around it. No one's talking about making sure that we can get access, excuse me, to the highest level of education. There's so many programs and we can do our work without them that focus on college access, getting our young people to college, but that's not enough if we want to see our leadership roles filled throughout our country, throughout our government. And so many corporations are having a hard time attaching to our mission because of that. They say, well, we can't support graduate school access because that's a luxury. You know, those folks are older. We want to support, you know, the K through 12 students. And it's like, yeah, you need to support the K through 12 and you need to continue to support them because those same K through 12 students are now in college and they need your support to continue to get through this career trajectory that they're on. And so we're really, like Jonathan said, building a movement so people can see that when it comes to education, we have to make sure that we don't stop. There's a level of education, the highest level of education that we've been barred out for so long. And this is the time right now that the Bureau of Labor Statistics shares that the fastest growing segment of the workforce are jobs that require master's and doctoral degrees at entry level. We're going into a much more advanced time in our society when it comes to AI, when it comes to biosciences, when it comes to crypto, all these different things. And if we don't get our education together, we're going to be left out of this new world that we're walking into. And so, you know, all of that to say, you know, that's our push to the companies in the academic institutions. And I would love to share, Jimmy, if that's next, some of the work that we are doing at LB.
Hey, but I will say, and in the wake of the Supreme Court decision around affirmative action.
Hold on, because I was just getting ready to ask you about that. We'll go with that, and then I want to ask Derek a little bit about the role of getting up, the role of community and parents. There's the prep at the level that you all are doing, but this notion of it starts at home, and that, you know, that could be a whole nother conversation. So we're going backwards because I wanted to ask, based on what's going on in this country right now, the Supreme Court decision, that man that is going after, he's going after initiatives like what Mayor Wu and Shagun did, you know, for Black businesses. He's like trying to sue and say, you know, it's racism. And please, Jonathan, go ahead and give commentary on that decision and the potential impact of that decision.
Well, yeah, and I'll definitely let Derek also chime in. That he was appointed to Governor Healey's council on affirmative action and can definitely speak even more around some of the implications. But what we already are seeing is schools being hesitant about how they interact with organizations and entities that are serving Black and brown people. That's not helpful for us. We are seeing students in particular, and this is something I really want anybody who's watching or listening right now to pay attention to, students who are beginning to believe that there's no opportunity for them, and that they should not apply to undergrad or to graduate school because they won't get admitted because they're Black or brown. I want to talk to you right now. If you're a student, if you are a parent of a student, to not give up and to not hold back going after your dreams and your pursuits. Do not forsake applying to undergrad or graduate school simply because of this decision. You are needed now more than ever. And so I need you to believe in yourself. I need you to double down on your sense of somebodyness, because you are the next generation of leadership in this country. And so we do not need this moment in time to result in less and less amounts of Black and brown folks applying to these academic programs. And so that is something that's really important. If we allow this moment to cause us to become discouraged, then that will cause us more harm than anything. But Derek, if you want to speak a little bit more to other implications.
Yeah, no, I truly do feel, I mean, Jonathan, you hit on it. But, what we're seeing at Leadership Brainer, yesterday I got an email from, we've been working with Harvard since 2019. We had our first summit at Harvard Law School, and one of the schools there yesterday did say that their general counsel shared that they can no longer partner with us because of the affirmative action case. And because of Leadership Brainer, we do collect race. And so when schools partner with us, they know that they can assume that the attention is for race-based admissions. And that's not necessarily the case. And so we serve people of color. We serve first-generation students. We serve low-income students. And so we have a very diverse network of prospective graduate students. However, to Jonathan's point, academic institutions are going to be extremely more hesitant to partner with pipeline organizations because they don't want to get sued. And so, we will see a significant decrease in diversity across the board, especially at competitive universities over the next 5 years. We saw it in California back when affirmative action was banned there. They had a huge drop, lost over 10,000 Black students the first year. And they still barely have caught up to what they were in the early 90s. And so it is a state of emergency. We are going to see less access to the highest levels of education, to undergrad, to graduate degrees. And to Jonathan's point, we just got to double down. We got to make sure our students are equipped. We got to make sure that they are prepared in K through 12 and high school. Leadership Brainer is partnering with high schools, middle schools. We just did a great partnership with Epiphany School out in Dorchester. And so, we love Epiphany School. And so now with their graduate support program, as those middle schoolers graduate, they go to high school, they go to college. Every year they get a phone call and say, hey, are you interested in continuing education? If so, they get free admissions coaching through Leadership Brainer. And so we're doing more partnerships in the communities like that. We localized one of our major programs this year to be a Boston-based program. And so we're really excited about that. Our Ambassador Fellowship, which is a very high-touch program. Over the last 3 years, we've had 2 cohorts around the country. And these students get access to personal, professional leadership development, free test prep and admissions coaching, which we all know a lot of the affluent folks are paying upward to $10,000, $20,000 for admissions coaching to get into these competitive universities. We know many folks
or for admissions, but I won't go there. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, paying for it outright. And so, now with this local program, we're really excited about it. And we knew that when we see the disparity and the equity right here in Boston and how many of the Boston-based folks, whether you're from Boston or even you came here for school in undergrad, you're not getting the opportunities that folks coming from outside. We're outsiders. We know we came here for graduate school, and because we came here at these competitive schools, we were immediately launched into an amazing network that we're extremely grateful for, and we want that for other folks, especially folks who are from Boston. And so now our ambassador program is local. We just selected 25 students who are in college here in Greater Boston. If you are from Boston, you got extra points on our criteria. And now you get free test prep admissions coaching, that personal professional leadership development, a $10,000 scholarship to go to graduate school, and we meet up once a month to expose them to different parts of Boston. And our goal is to really ensure that we can retain more diverse talent here, opposed to when they graduate and they want to go elsewhere. How do we ensure that they know that isolation that they were experiencing on their campuses at BU, MIT, Harvard, Suffolk was not a reflection of the entire Boston. There is opportunity here, there is community here, and we have to show the young people that so that they're willing to stay into the city.
Derek, if I can ask you to kind of on the same subject of where you ended, and then I'm going to ask Jonathan's opinion as well. There's this notion of limited access, the other thing of pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. And that brings into the conversation of it starts at home. You both have witnessed, Jonathan, let's just name that you got so involved that you actually ran for a district city council seat a couple of years ago. And so you both are very familiar with the issues of violence, mass and cast. I want to back up a little bit and talk about what Derek said earlier, and I don't want to miss that. In some way, shape, form, or another, your life is intersected with the graduate space. When you talked about the dentist, the doctor, we know some of the law enforcement have advanced criminal justice degrees and whatnot, or if you're in the court system, those with the juris doctorate, I don't want to mess that up. But yes, so I want to name that as well. There's this notion of things starting at home, the foundation, the value of life, the importance of education. You all are coming in right now into the lives at a more at a higher age level, at a different academic level. What is the importance? And Derek, if you had the opportunity to speak to parents across the country, what is it that you would say to them that they should be doing at home to aggressively, intentionally get their children in the mindset of, yes, going to college, but not just the undergrad? What can parents begin to do now to plant seeds?
Parents need to believe in their children, in their capabilities, in the possibilities. So many young folks, we know when we are 5, 6, 7 years old, our imaginations are vivid. We're saying, I want to be an astronaut. I want to be if your child say they want to be an astronaut, you should say, okay, child, the path to be an astronaut is to go to college, but not only go to college. And, some parents have to do their research because like my parents, they didn't go to college, so they wouldn't necessarily know. But then we have to be intentional to say, okay, my child said they want to be an astronaut. Let's not laugh that off. We need more Black astronauts. And so how do we encourage that and tell them it's going to require you to get a doctoral degree if you want to be an astronaut? And so, so many of those big career pathways that we expose our young people to in elementary school, they get really excited about. But by the time we get to middle school and high school and, the society, everything starts to, life starts to happen, we get extremely discouraged. Our families and our parents, they oftentimes didn't see the pathway for themselves. And so they have a hard time seeing it for their children. And so we have to believe that the life that our children can have can be completely different than a life that we had. And know that there are resources and possibilities out there. And so what you have in your inner circle is not the only resources you have for your child. You got to be able to look outward and say, how can I get the support that my child needs to achieve the dreams that they have? I tell people all the time, for example, they don't know at Harvard, if you get into Harvard for undergrad and your family makes under 100K, you go to Harvard for free. So at that point, all you have to do is just get accepted. And truth be told, we live right in Brighton, down the street from Harvard. The folks in Dorchester, Roxbury, when you put those kids with those same kids, I can tell you that the intelligence, the creativity, the innovation is at a much higher level. But what we're doing is we're not stepping into our power and saying, hey, I belong in these spaces, so let me take a chance on myself. But we're self-eliminating ourselves from the process and not even trying. And that's why we're not, that's one reason why we're not getting into some of these institutions. But of course, they have a lot of work to do as well.
Jonathan, your thoughts there with parents and speaking to parents and then the reality of life. There are a lot of struggles that, even if the system was perfect, life, as Derek said, interferes. What is it that you would say to parents? And you kind of talked a little bit already about them keep pursuing, don't let this Supreme Court decision. It's actually having an impact in the litigation itself, let alone before, at worst case scenario, something becomes law. What is it that you would say to parents or to the community, Jonathan, to begin to prepare young people now to have that mindset, their mentality, how they speak with them and nurture their dreams, to which Derek referred?
I think one of the first things that we have to do, I think about my own family. My dad was illiterate growing up and went to adult literacy classes. I was in high school still coming home reading him the mail. My mom is currently in the process of earning her bachelor's degree. So I didn't already have that laid out for me. But what I will say about my parents, I appreciate, is that they did listen to me. When I was interested in things, they encouraged me to do those things and to get involved in those things that I said I wanted to do. And so parents, you got to listen to your children and take that very seriously. When you hear them say they're interested in things, invest then in their ability to explore and to be exposed. Our young people don't often have enough opportunities to adventure and to explore and to be exposed to a myriad of things. And that is exactly what they need. And so I would encourage you as a parent, as young as you can, to get your child involved in as many things as possible, because the more things that they are exposed to, the more options that they have to choose what they want to do with their lives, the more that their imagination is then expanded around what's possible for themselves. Now, I know one thing that's challenging is parents who themselves are still working through a lot of trauma. And so I would also encourage you to take some time to be intent on healing yourself. Because oftentimes we carry over all of that trauma and baggage and hurt and pain and frustration in the way in which we believe or how we think about ourselves. We then put that on our kids. If we don't think we can accomplish anything, right, we didn't have the perspective that our children can't accomplish anything. But in fact, the reality is our children are in a position to do better than we've ever done. And so I would encourage you to take advantage of that. Take advantage that your children are your family's opportunity to go to the next level, to break out of cycles of generational curses and poverty and abuse, even in trauma. We have an opportunity with our young people to do unimaginable things, but it's only if we will believe that they can do unimaginable things, right, as Derek said. So expose, invest, listen, heal ourselves. And then lastly, I'll say, be intent on building your network. It's not always about what you know. Y'all heard this before, but also about who you know.
Especially in Boston.
Especially in Boston. Let me tell you about it. Especially in Boston. Certainly as an outsider coming in, Boston, y'all can be a tough cookie to crack. But what I appreciate and what has caused me and Derek to stay here is we've had the opportunity to build genuine community, and building community has given us more hope that this is a space and a place that we can call home. And now we have been doing so almost a decade. And so network. Those connections are going to be so important always, not only for yourself, but for your children. When your children says that they want to go to law school and you happen to know a lawyer, you can then connect your child with that lawyer so they can show them the ins and outs on going to law school and pursuing a legal pathway. And you can apply that to other types of opportunities and journeys that one may take and paths that people may take. And so you have to network not only for yourself, but so your children can have additional connections and social capital. And so those are the things that we would say to parents for sure.
Yeah, and Jimmy, I want to add one thing. And the exposure doesn't only look like academic or professional development exposure. I was told by a Black leader in Boston a few months ago. I had shared that I love to go whale watching, and their immediate response was, "What type of Black person are you?" And it's like the type of Black person that's exposed. They like to go whale watching, and we've been talking about different ways. In Boston, we have so much water, and we have the Charles, and you can go sailboating and so forth. And we've been talking to community boating right on the Charles, and they said they have the hardest time getting young Black people to come sailboating. And so we took a couple groups of HBCU students sailboating a couple months ago on the Charles, and they had an amazing time. We got to do more things that right here in our city that don't even cost us anything or don't cost us much, but it can change the mindset of our youth. to see this huge animal coming out of the water right next to you. Those are the things that are magical, that expand our imagination, that our young people need to see, and it's right in our backyard.
So take your children whale watching, all right? Like that is the homework assignment. If you have the means before October, go ahead. You can go out there from the New England Aquarium area and get on the ship and get out there in the ocean and change your life. I'll also say, if you can, take your children outside of Boston, travel, expose them to other countries and other communities, because if all they know is Boston, then we're limiting their view of the world. And that's applicable to any other community. So if you're watching this and you're not from Boston, same thing. Take them outside of the community that they've always been in and take them somewhere different, because that exposes their imagination and literally changes a young person's life. And that's exactly what I've experienced. That's my testimony. Once I started traveling and getting exposed to other communities, man, I wanted to do more. I wanted to see more.
So Aaron, Anthony, and the team is in the
yes, drop it in there. That's the link.
There is a link right there in real time. These are academics, and you got a homework assignment. And guess what? You're at least 50% through it right now. So thanks, Aaron, for the hookup. I'm so bad for the link in there to get it. But I really wanted to go down that path, and it may not be in the highlight of Black business, but where I like to seize opportunities and where I had both of you that move in this space, that understand life, but then also understand that the way that you can shift it for the next generation, or even in present for the current, is these moving towards and wanting to obtain higher level degrees. That piece, Derek, again, will not be lost on me, that one way or another in our everyday life, we're interacting with graduate level and higher education.
Our mayor, our governor, our AG, are like all these people who have this influence over our everyday lives.
Literally. And so Jimmy and everybody else, there's so many influencers that are on this live right now. Even I would encourage us and challenge us to be intentional about incorporating this conversation in our dialogues more. I need to see that. We need to see that. It is necessary. So we need to start talking, even if we don't have those degrees ourselves. That doesn't matter. All roads lead to graduate school. And so we need to be intent on starting to have these conversations more. And please call on Leadership right here to be a part.
I was just getting ready to ask either one of you, can you go, there's a little box there that says private chat. Can you put either the email address, phone number, website, so folks can reach out to you? I also hope in a couple of years from now that you all expand to the point where you are so embedded within BPS that because the intention, this needs to start at first grade or even younger, when Derek was talking about, I want to be an astronaut and I want to be this, I want to be that. Shout out to my mother, because I wanted to be, for some reason, I wanted to be a secretary. I liked organizing. So I wanted a typewriter. I didn't want a video game growing up. I wanted a typewriter. And I think I did get that blue one 1 year with my mom. But in speaking of my mom, just real quick, y'all just got adopted. They not mine, but I'm so proud of these young men.
Thank you.
Is in the room. I want to make sure that folks have you guys' information. There is I'm going to put the website first. It'll actually be a hyperlink in the comments. There we go there. And
if you're interested in donating to Leadership Writer, I put the link.
Hold on.
Directly there. You can bring it through the website as well, because we also need you to invest. My role at Leadership Writer is I'm director of development. And
that's the money.
This work takes money. And we have over 700 individuals that have been personally invested in our work. And so I invite you to join us in becoming one of them as well. We have an annual Change Can't Wait campaign that we've just launched again for this year with a $1.5 million fundraising goal by June 30th of 2024. And so we need you to invest and to chip in whatever you can and spread the word, please. We're really excited. We're having our Change Can't Wait soiree, award soiree on November 3rd at the new State Street headquarters. And so tickets are live, and we're excited to be hosting this dynamic affair where we'll celebrate Leadership Brainwave's fifth year. This is our 5th year as a nonprofit organization, a huge milestone. Our team has grown. We have 8 full-time staff. Our students are getting into incredible schools, from Harvard Law to Columbia to Cornell Business to Brown School of Medicine. I mean, they are crushing it and are the next generation that is going to take us into the future. And so let's invest in our own first. As obviously we're leaning on the allies, we're leaning on the white folk to invest too. But those of us who are Black and brown, we have a mandate to make sure that we uplift and invest in our own as well. So please join us in this effort.
Jonathan, okay, we're going to open up this can of worms and keep it moving. Folks that, let's say, achieved and met the fullest accomplishment of both of your goals, what is the responsibility of, Derek, you used the term elite. There's different schools of thought on Black elite and all this other stuff, but those that may have achieved, and if you agree with that term, Black elite, that 1 million and billionaires, and I'm not talking about the rappers and all that other stuff. If somebody stumbles across this Java with Jimmy, they're Black, and they, what is the responsibility of, we talked about the responsibility of parents to raise their children. On the other end, when you've made it, most of us believe that we remember, we give back. Can you talk a little bit about the responsibility of those that may have achieved and made it to give back? Because someone may not know how, and 2, just for whatever reason, just busy in life and didn't remember to turn around. Jonathan, you're a preacher. The parable of the talents.
Yes, go back to the one.
Go back to the one. What is the responsibility, sir, for folks? And don't forget, y'all, we do have the donation thing. We can lift the offering, Jonathan, right now. Stop playing.
But I'm gonna be checking. I'm gonna check my email when I get off of here.
So the responsibility is not to get comfortable. And I think so many people get comfortable once you start getting some money. And you need to continue to look around and say, first of all, if you didn't come from this, I didn't come from this. And it was a struggle getting there. And now that I'm here, I have my money. I may be on the vineyard with the select few other Black folks with the money. And I still look around at the board tables. I still look around at the C-suites, and I'm the only one. You can't get comfortable with that. And so we tell these leaders all the time, they tell us, well, hey, you think about the college loan, the loan debt and so forth. And it's just like, well, yeah, but we can't give up. We can't say because folks got to take out debt that they shouldn't get education. You need to invest some of those $1 million and give them scholarships and stop making up excuses and push our government to say, hey, how can we get more funding? There's no Pell Grant for graduate school. The government gives no money for graduate school. How can we push them? Even our local electeds, our Massachusetts-based representatives who we've had conversations with, how do we push them to prioritize and say, hey, we need to make sure we can get access to higher levels of education? Folks have a responsibility to invest. I feel like a lot of affluent and folks who have more wealth, they start to invest for clout. And that's what you can't do. You can't invest in these organizations are great. So I'm naming them, they do good work. But, we want to talk about the United Negro College Fund and so forth. These organizations who have like hundreds of millions of dollars, like how are we investing into the organizations that are still on the ground as well? And I think that's where so many people are lacking, because you want the press release. You want the big post to say, hey, I gave this money to UNCF, and they have the brand to push it out. In leadership brandery, you may can give $20,000, but is that going to get you a whole bunch of press? No, but it's going to make a lot of change. And I think that's where people need to get out of their heads and say, hey, it's not about the recognition, it's about the impact. We don't do this work for the clout. We do this work for the impact. And that's what I want to see many more of our affluent leaders step up and do. 70% of our donor base are white folks. Yes, white folks have more wealth in this country. But as Jonathan said, we need to make sure that we're investing in our own people, because what we see is white people can pull out at any time, and they do pull out at all times. And so if we're not invested in our own people, the moment where things shift, what happens to our organizations? They fall to the ground because we no longer have that financial support, because we're not investing in our own people. And so that's my call to the folks. You got me.
Look,
Okay.
and I say that, you know, to that excuses piece, I want to double down on that. We got to get rid of the excuses. Like, that is not helping us. And there's this quote, and I can't tell you who the quote is by, but something like excuses are the tools of the weak and incompetent, and they build bridges to nowhere and tunnels to nothingness. And those who sell in excuses is selling them. They seldom amount to anything. And so we don't have time to just give excuses. We have to be innovative. We have to be determined and relentless, unbridled, and really know that if we continue to band together, we can accomplish anything. We can do anything. And so even as we think about student loan debt as a barrier to graduate school, to education in general, then what we need to be talking about is how we need to mobilize to raise more capital, to invest more scholarship aid into people who want to earn their master's, doctoral degree, not run away from it. And so that's a message to our legislators as well, who I've had numerous conversations about, who won't take this up as an issue because they're worried about being reelected. And wanting to take the easy route and the easy conversation that everybody else is having. And we're having this conversation about shifting more and more of our young people to trades. Yes, that is a pathway for many of our folk, and that's cool. But we're doing that at the forsaking of also telling our young people that they can achieve the highest levels of education. We can't do one and not the other. We got to do both.
We can walk and chew gum at the same damn time.
Exactly.
Ma, you just pray for them. Now she wants to know that did you all get any grants? Ma, just pray that grants and stuff that y'all done got on Mother Java's list. So Ma, add them to the prayer list with there's a whole mother's board, Jonathan.
Thank you.
Got a whole mother's board. So add the brainery Ma to the is she happy with y'all?
We do. We have several grants coming through, and more needs to come.
Yeah.
So if you have connections to grant funders, please reach out to us. I will say shout out to the New Commonwealth Fund, who is investing in our collaboration and strategic alliance with the Epiphany School with a $160,000 investment so that we can recruit and support students that are alum of Epiphany to go to graduate school. And this is a strategic alliance model that Leadership Right Here has innovated, where we're partnering with college access organizations like the Upward Project, Posse, and many others, Valedictorian Project.
Upward Bound. Like, if you all know community organizations that's working with young people, connect those organizations to us, because we have a partnerships team. And to your point, Jimmy, we really try to see how do we educate youth much early on before they get to our programs. And so if y'all are here, y'all know community organizations, please connect them with us.
So today was good. One of my indicators is if I'm tired after interview, you know, Jonathan, the virtue.
Yeah.
The virtue leaves you, and so you know you got to go recoup it. No, I really appreciate both of you on so many levels. One, the professionalism. When I saw that post that y'all were going to Beacon Street, I was like, oh, okay. That piece, just the whole way you move and organize. I love your love that you have for each other. I love the love that you have for community and for education and academics. And Derek, that thing will not leave. What is the exact saying? Graduate, what all roads
lead to graduate school. Yeah.
That thing is so loaded. Like we say often that, you know, you're in politics, whether you want to believe it or not. If you flush the toilet, if your kids go to school, if you stop at a stoplight, you're political. Exactly. And so in one way, shape, form, or another, that y'all said a lot. But that one,
every medication we take was made by a chemist, a biologist who had a graduate degree. All roads. All
the things. I mean, the airplanes you get on, when you think about the engineers that are building those things. But you know, even when we think about the CEOs at the top Fortune 500 companies, there are less than 10 that are Black, and all of them have a graduate degree. Most of them have an MBA, and some of them have a JD MBA. But so that anecdote alone, we need more of us that are leading the top companies in this nation and in this world, and we can do it. And listen, I'll tell you what my mentor and pastor used to always tell me growing up: if you do what you've always done, you will get what you've always got.
And what is the definition of insanity? Doing the same old thing
over and
thinking you
over and
over and
over.
over again and think you're going to get a different outcome.
Exactly.
Don't be insane
Gotta do
in
better,
your
my
own brain.
friends. Gotta do better. It's time to innovate, level up.
Double down.
Double down, level up, and I'll challenge that, Jonathan, a little bit. We've exhausted the levels. It's time to get to the next dimension.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
I saw that head move. No, I really appreciate both of you. I'm going to give some commentary and pay some bills when you guys get off of here. But thank you. Please keep us abreast. Either one of you, Derek, I think you were doing a correspondent. Can you get Anissa the information for November 3rd for the gala so I can sign up and attend and support and whatnot and get them elected officials to come out, because that's a few days before this municipal election. So they need to
That's for sure.
buy tickets and
y'all come through just to get votes, then we need to double down.
Double down to take us to the next dimension. I appreciate both of you. Thank you for being here with us today. Godspeed and blessings on both of the work, both of your lives that you're doing as well.
Likewise.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
All right. See y'all. Thanks everybody for coming.
Listen, y'all, if you're not inspired to go back to school, to support somebody going back to school, to do, I mean, something. All right. That was, they were awesome. All right. We're going to get you guys off of here. Today is my Friday. We will see you Monday. Is Monday a holiday? Monday is technically a holiday. But we'll probably be here and check in for a few minutes on Monday. We have a lot of things lined up in the next few weeks. More information is coming out about September 16th for the Java with Jimmy birthday day event, and then the others event as well. And yeah, we're just going to get ready to wrap up, because them brothers, powerful, smart, innovative, just inspiring, encouraging brothers. I seen a lot of the comments. Aaron said, if this isn't Black boy excellence right here, I don't know what is. So happy and proud of both of them. Miss T is in the room. Thank you so much, Miss T, for being in. Mika, good morning as well. Mama Java, Juice that's in the room as well. Sister Soraya, the brother Anthony Davis Jr. Is in the room. Rob said, I commend them on Black and Brown Push. Do they feel a responsibility to the lifestyle community to open doors so others who go through the same struggle feel comfortable? I know it couldn't have been easy for them to stand in their truth. Absolutely, Rob. And appreciate you, Rob, for the compliment. James, your podcast has gotten so much deep and diverse. I feel like you're really ascending levels. Thank you, Rob, because I know you're always going to tell me the truth. And I think that is it. Cynthia is in the room. I don't know if she's still on, but Cynthia popped in. She's someone that we're working with that does customized tissue paper. I didn't see Aisha Miller pop in here as well. Lord Jesus, you know, when I have these wonderful guests, I don't check the comments as much, but we're going to get off of here. Y'all are dropping out. It's 10 o'clock. We will see you on, I believe, Monday at 9 a.m. And have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Technically, it's Thankful Thursday, so be intentional about your gratitude today. Remember something for which you are grateful. Name it. Think about it, because there are things that come to often fight our gratefulness and our gratitude. And so be intentional about your gratitude. And we will see you on, more than likely, we'll see you on Monday morning at 9 a.m. Oh, wait a minute. Today is Thursday, right? Next Friday on September 8th, we will have, next Friday on September 8th, we will have a birthday Java with Jimmy at 9 o'clock. Get some folks to pop into the room and pop on and, you know, just do what we do, what we've been doing for the last 3 or 4 years for on September 8th. All right. That's it for me. Yes, Miss Teresa, I will eat and drink. And also just to put this out there again for the 9 of you that are still in here. And Mama Java said, y'all get an hour and a half for Union Capital Boston for your community service points. An hour and a half today, 90 minutes. If you all are aware of, and I'm looking to move and relocate, want to stay here in Boston. And so if you're aware of a landlord or a nice, wonderful apartment, one family, a house to rent or whatever, please keep a brother in mind. Email us at info@javawithjimmy.com. Putting that out there as well. More to come about that whole transition at a later date, but I'm just putting that out there to my network that I'm looking to relocate. All right. We'll talk to you on Monday at 9 a.m. Have a great day, a great weekend, everybody. Be safe and be careful this Memorial Day weekend. Please pray and that we don't have a weekend like last, and I'll leave that there. All right. Have a great day, a great weekend, everybody. And we'll talk to you soon. Peace.